Let's bring you more now on how Turkey's president is marking the anniversary of a failed coup against him. More than 100,000 people have been imprisoned or sacked from their jobs during the last year as part of a huge purge of President Erdogan's opponents. Well, to discuss this, we're joined by Michael Daventry, a London-based Turkish journalist and commentator on Turkish current affairs. Michael, many thanks for being with us. A year on from the coup, something that has always fascinated me is just how deep is our understanding of who exactly was responsible for that coup?
Well, it's not deep enough, and there are lots of concerns about the process in Turkey, be it the courts or be it the journalists, the people who are meant to look at this story and to try and scrutinise it. So from that point of view, our understanding isn't deep enough. But it's important, I think, also just to pause and to acknowledge how traumatic a night it was, because I was actually on Sky News doing part of your rolling coverage this time a year ago. I was in Weymouth, of all places, and a year on, I still can't quite find the words as a journalist, as a Turkish journalist, to describe how horrific it is to see the streets that you grew up on, the streets that you played football on, and to see tanks driving down them, and not just down the middle of the streets, but deliberately over parked cars in an attempt to destroy them. It was horrendously traumatic. So I think here in the West, we do need to understand a little bit how Turkey needs to vent its anger, but only to a certain extent.
Indeed. But in terms of what has happened since that point, what is pretty clear is that the president has, through a variety of means, the purge, constitutional change, cemented his grip on power.
He has, yes. That referendum was held, the referendum that gave him executive presidency powers was held under a state of emergency. It is said that the opposition was given the right and the opportunity to voice its position. In reality, it wasn't. There wasn't a serious, high-handed debate about what was a question of constitutional politics, the question of whether the president or the prime minister should be ruling the country. And it didn't help when President Erdogan would dismiss people who disagreed with his position when he called them terrorists. That wasn't the high intellectual debate that you need when you're talking about something as fundamental as changing the way in which your country is being run.
And yet, despite the purge, despite the additional powers that Erdogan has and the likelihood that he will use them, we still saw just a week ago a massive opposition rally against the president. I mean, it is pretty clear that despite the fact that we are 12 months on from that failed coup and he has cemented his position, there are plenty of people who would wish to see him go.
Yes, there are. The problem is that Turkey has split almost precisely down the middle, and that's what the referendum showed. I mean, if you'll allow me, I think there are two very important reasons why your viewers, why Sky News viewers, should really understand why Turkey is such an important country. They may know it as a holiday destination, they may know it as somewhere that they have visited for business, but I mean, this is not a country that used to be a banana republic. This is a country that 18 years ago was accepted as a candidate for EU membership. 12 years ago, those negotiations for EU membership began, and they actually worked. Turkish judicial systems, the rule of law, the freedom of the press, freedom of ethnic minorities, those things improved immeasurably about a decade ago. What happened since is that we have seen it regress. And the warning for the West is that democracy and democratic fundamental rights can actually be dismantled. Turkey is a living example of that.
Indeed, it is often difficult to process the changes that we've seen to Turkey recently. Michael Daventry, many thanks for being with us.
Thank you.